the first slide up to the design of the levers. It's okay, no problem. I have what do you mean by lever? Yesterday I have already discussed these things, even though today I will like to repeat it. It's a mechanical device, and again it is in the form of rigid bar. That rigid bar may have a rectangular, elliptical, or I section, or you can say I cross section, and this bar is pivoted above the fulcrum, and this bar is also used to multiply or transfer the force. You can say it's a lever. Look at this, it's a lever, but when we are going to say this bar or rigid bar is a lever, when it's pivoted about the fulcrum, you will find it's a fulcrum. Again here, to multiply or transfer the force effort which is required, and because of this report some force here, or the it can take some load or helps to bear the load here. That means the three basic terms we are going to use here: load, which is generated here, then second, effort required to produce that force or a load, and second one is the third one is the fulcrum. Then again here, look at this. The lever, it consists of three elements. One is the fulcrum, second one is the effort arm, third one is the resistance arm. Resistance arm is also known as a force arm or a load arm. Now look at this. It's also a lever. Here is the fulcrum, here effort which is put this side, or you can say again this effort which is perpendicular to this. Try to understand this force. And the distance from this, the effort, that is P, up to the pivot is known as the effort arm. It is shown here. It is effort arm. Then again another one is the, here you will get the force, that is F. The distance from this, the pivot up to the force, is known as the resistance arm or a load arm or a force arm. Try to understand this. And this distance which is measured parallel to the force, and effort arm distance, it is also measured from the effort, that is P, up to the pivot. The fulcrum is the fixed point of the lever, and the effort arm means the part of the lever that effort force is applied. That means from this point up to the pivot. And resistance arm means from this force to be produced here, and from this force, or you can say the which is to be produced up to this fulcrum. You can say it's a resistance arm or a load arm or a force arm. This is about the nomenclature or some terms associated with this. Now let us see the construction of a simple lever. So look at this. This is the lever, or it's a simple lever. It consists of here you will find this point. Here pin is inserted here, or this part is known as a fulcrum in general, or a pivot, where pin is inserted, and this part is a bush, and inside it there is a bush and then pin to prevent some the friction in between the pin and the bush here. Again, second thing here, the force P which is shown at the one end of the lever here, or a bar, this rigid bar, and another end there is a force F which is shown. This P is nothing but a effort or a input force, and F which is the force produced by the lever. Try to understand. F is the force produced by the lever. When this force is produced by the lever, when this effort P is applied, or you can say effort P is required to produce this force F. Try to understand. And on this lever which is pivoted at this point. Again, second thing, that here this is the simple construction of the lever, but here you will find the three classification of the lever based on the position of the pivot. Suppose in this case, look at the simple lever here, you will find this pivot is at the middle, in between this load and in between this load and the effort. Here it's a first type of lever. Then in second type, this the force, it is in between the pivot and the effort, and in third case this effort, it is in between the pivot and the force. In this way we are going to classify the three types of levers. It's okay, we will see on the next slide, but before that, so you should know the anatomy of the lever. In anatomy, the fulcrum means this point around which the lever is going to rotate because of this effort. Then second, this effort is also known as the input force, and which is exerted on the lever, and because of that lever produces some force. That force is denoted by F. The F is the force produced by the lever, and it is also known as output force, force exerted by the lever to do some activity or some useful work. Try to understand. This is the main, the construction of a simple lever, and you should know the position and how while designing it, the important thing input as a effort which is required to produce which amount of the force which is required again to have a, the moment of that mechanism or that system. As per the application, we are going to say it's a load force or a F. Try to understand. Then second thing, look at the simple one. Again, there are two terms. One is the effort arm and the load arm. So what do you mean by effort arm? Here P is the effort. The distance of this effort from the pivot which is measured. Again, while measuring it, what you have to consider? The force P. Look at this distance which is measured perpendicular to this force P here from this pivot. So you can say this is L1. The L1 is the effort arm or effort arm length. Then second L2. L2 means the distance which is from the force up to the pivot, but the distance again it is measured which is perpendicular to this force F. This is L2, and L2 is known as load arm. Try to understand here, there are two terms. P is the effort, F is the load or a force, L1 is the effort arm, and L2 is the force or load arm. These four terms we are going to use to define mechanical advantage and leverage. How to define the mechanical advantage? Now again here, the why mechanical advantage is important. In theory of machine, you already studied this thing. That means by with a minimum effort, how to get a maximum output force, and which is achieved by a mechanical advantage. Try to understand. And therefore, if we are going consider this simple, the lever, so you will find if you are going to taking moment of forces about the fulcrum here, what you will get? F into L2 is equal to P into L1. I have written this equation. F into L2 is equal to P into L1. And if we are going to arrange it in the other way, so you can write in this way: F upon P is equal to L1. You can send L2 to that side. The L1 upon L2. So what you will get? F upon P is equal to L1 upon L2. So F upon P is called mechanical advantage, and F is load, P is effort. So you can say the ratio of load or a force to the effort is known as mechanical advantage of the lever. Try to understand. And then second term here, F upon P is equal to, from this equation, L1 upon L2. Now ratio of L1 means effort arm, L2 means load or force arm. The L1 upon L2 is also called, or is called the leverage. Try to understand. The two terms are new terms. Mechanical advantage means ratio of load to the effort, and leverage means effort arm to the load arm. Try to understand. And yesterday we have conducted the poll on these two questions, simple questions, but 30%, 40% students not answered correctly. Try to understand. So what do you mean by mechanical advantage? Load upon effort. And what do you mean by leverage? Effort arm, that is L1 upon L2. Again, try to understand. When while defining the classes of the different types of lever, the L1 and L2 are going to change. But while taking the value of L1 and L2, always consider each point the effort and the pivot, that is L1 always, and force up to this pivot, you can say L2. Whatever may be the position, accordingly you have to use the nomenclature. This is about this term mechanical advantage and leverage. Again, that here, if we are going to write F by P is equal to L1 by L2, that means we are going to say mechanical advantage is equal to leverage. Try to understand. Mechanical advantage is equal to leverage. You can write in your notebook also. F by P is equal to L1 by L2. F by P is MA, mechanical advantage is equal to L1 by L2 leverage. Try to understand. That means mechanical advantage depends on the leverage. Leverage means L1 ratio of L1 by L2. So we will see how the mechanical advantage is going to vary based on L1 and L2 in next slide. Look at this here. So you will find when now look at the figure instead of going for this, the theory part. Look at the diagram. You will find here from this pivot to up to P is the effort, L1 is the effort arm, and here L2. Looking towards the figure, you will observe L1 is greater than L2. L1 is greater than L2. That means what is mechanical advantage? L1 upon L2. The L1 is greater. That means you will get mechanical advantage greater than 1. Look at the third case. When L1 is greater than L2, mechanical advantage is greater than 1. Now suppose if I am going to change this pivot position at the middle, so what would happen? L1 becomes L2. And when L1 becomes L2, that time mechanical advantage is equal to L1 by L2. That means is equal to 1 because L1 is equal to L2. And third case, when I am going to shift this pivot towards the P, port side here, suppose look at the cursor, this position. So what you will get, this is L1, L2. L2 is greater than this case 1, L2 is greater than N. Well, that time mechanical advantage is less than 1. That means position of the pivot towards the port side or the load side decides the leverage, that is the ratio of L1 by L2, but leverage is equal to the mechanical advantage, and based on that we are going to say L1 and L2 decides the mechanical advantage, whether it's greater than 1, whether it's less than 1, and whether it's equal to 1. But as per the in actual practice, with the minimum effort to have a maximum force, the always mechanical advantage should be greater than 1, and that construction of the lever is prepared in many practical applications. Try to understand. Therefore mechanical advantage is less than 1 or equal to 1, no one is going to prefer this. In some of the applications you will find that L1 is equal to L2 also, no problem. But generally while designing the lever, if it is not mentioned, always you have to think with a minimum effort you should have a maximum output force. For that purpose L1 should be greater than L2, and that means mechanical advantage should be greater than 1. Try to understand how. We will see in other cases also. Now here let us see the three classification of the levers. The first type is the first class. We have yesterday also discussed, but let us repeat it. First class lever, second class lever, third class lever is also known as first type lever, second type lever, third type lever. Now here look at the first figure here, look at the cursor. Now in first class, this is a fulcrum. P is the effort, F is the force. This fulcrum is in between. P effort means input and the output F. Try to understand. Is known as the first type. And such a first type you will find here in the pliers or the scissors or many applications. Output you will get at here. Then second one is the input force and the fulcrum here. Then next, another application in mechanical engineering application, you will find rocker arm of overhead walls of IC engine. Then bell crank levers in railway signal mechanism, and hand pumps are the example of this first class lever where pivot is at the middle. Then in between this input and the force. Try to understand, or input and output. Then look at the second type of lever or second class or second type of lever here. So you will find here this output force. It is in between the pivot and the input force, that is E port. Look at this diagram. This is E port. Here is the pivot, and this output force, it is in between this input and the pivot. Look at the second class. But here important thing, look at this. The E port from the pivot, which is denoted by L1 here. Try to understand. L1. And here output force or the force from the pivot, that is L2. That means looking to second class type of lever, you will find here this L1 is also greater than L2. That means mechanical advantage is greater than 1. Try to understand. And you will find in material handling device here, this is the fulcrum, this is the output force, and this is the input force, uh, input force or a load. Then here third class type of lever or third type of lever, you will find, look at this here. This is the pivot, this is the output force, but in this case effort or a input force, it is in between the output force and the pivot. Try to understand. This is third class type. In third class or third type lever, input between the fulcrum and the output, and P is the input, that is effort. Look at this, the effort from the pivot L1, and this force or the output from the pivot, that is L2. In this case L2 is greater than L1. That means mechanical advantage is less than 1. Try to understand. Then second case, look at this, the body muscle I have already explained here. This is the fulcrum, again this is the input force to lift it, this dumbbells here, the output force which is required. This is the case. Or the fork, the we are using the forks in domestic purposes or household. So you can say where we are going to hold this, the fork, it is at the middle, that means the e-port. And the fork is the example of this, the third class type lever or third type of lever. And here in second type, in mechanical engineering application, you will find the pressure relief valves. You will find the application of the second type of lever in safety valves. Also, you will find in boilers in other cases also. This is about the classes of lever. First class, pivot at the middle. Second class, output force at the middle. Third class, input it at the middle or input force at the middle. Try to understand. Accordingly, the position of L1, L2s are going to change, and you can say accordingly, you will get the mechanical advantage. But first type, second class, we can prepare because mechanical advantage is more than one or greater than one. But in third class, you will find L2 is greater than L1, mechanical advantage is less than one. No, in industry or for industrial application, no one is going for third class type lever. Try to understand. The first and second types are generally prepared for industrial applications. Now let us see the another examples here. The first type lever I have already explained. To look at the video also, you will find here, yesterday I have shown this video also to you. Look at this. This is also the simple lever here. You can say this is the pivot, it is in between, or you can say it's a port. You can put some load here and the force you will get at the output. So this is the input P or E port, this is the output, and this is the pivot. Try to understand. This is the first type lever. But in this case, while preparing the video, what is the L1 is equal to L2, the mechanical advantage is equal to 1. Try to understand. But to have a minimum with a minimum report, it's an example of seesaw. You can say you might have seen in gardens also. This is about the class 1 or type 1 lever or first class lever. Okay. So now let us see, or it is also shown here. I have already explained this time. Now let us see the another case here. Second case. This is about the the gym mechanism. You might have, you are doing the the gym. In gyms you will find here you have to put the e-port, and because of this, in the link you will get the force or the load at the output here, and this is the pin or the, you can say, that means force it is at the middle, output force, this is the input, that is e-port, and this is the fulcrum pin. Look at the lever, this is the lever, e-port, output force or a force is at the middle, and this is the pin. That means force it is in between this fulcrum and the e-port. Try to understand. And how it is going to work, second type of lever, I am going to show again the video. Look at the video here. Now again here you will find in this video, the here in gym while doing the exercise, we are putting the effort here at this end. Then second, when we are putting the effort here, that time this weight 30, 20, 30, 40 kg which is shown, we are going to lift it. But this is the output. Where you will get the output? At the middle. Look at this, at this link. And this is the fulcrum or a pin. That's why it's a second type of lever or second class of lever. Try to understand. You can observe it. This is e-port. After sitting here in gym, you might have seen such a type of equipments. For exercise purpose, you have to put the e-port towards this end. Then here you will get the output, because we are going to lift it, the total load which comes on this link. That's why you can say the output or the force, that is F. And here you will find the what? Fulcrum. Try to understand. That means this is, you will observe now, this is the second classification. Now look at this, how to hold it. You will find this is the gym, the equipment generally prepared for the exercises of the shoulder here. So you will find this lever is the second type of lever. Try to understand. Observe it. Video is taking one more 1.5 minutes, no problem. But you should have an imagination how the different types of levers are used in different application. It will give you a feel, the realistic feel. While designing the lever, you can easily construct this diagram and you can easily design it. This is about the second type of lever. It's okay, I will even move it fast. Look at this, you will find this is about the second type of lever. I hope you understood the second lever. Now let us proceed for the third type lever. Now here in third type lever, I have already told the picking fork at the the home. You will find the example of this. That means e-port at the middle. To use the the picking fork, you will find we are holding somewhere at the middle here by using the thumbs also. The load at the another end. So you will find here, this is the force. You put at the somewhere and the hinge or the pivot at the another end. Look at the here the mechanism of this tractor. So you will find for the the plugging purpose. I would like to run this video again. Look at this in second case. Again here you will find, look at this. I am going to explain. Now this in third case, this is the output force which is coming here. The but input which is coming from this is the E port. That means from hydraulic system of the tractor. Look at this. From this you will get, and this is the pivot. That means E port, it is and between. Look at the cursor. It's a E port you will get for the plugging purpose. You will get the force. This is the force. This is the E port and this is the pivot. Right under pivot, E port and force. This is the third class type lever or third type lever. This is about the animation or videos prepared by us or Professor V.K. Patil here. So I hope you understood the three classification of the lever. We will proceed further for the another applications. So you will find in day-to-day life we are using the many the levers, our the domestic as well as the other office or other purposes. So look at this. This is simpler the gear mechanism. You will find at the end there is a ball to movement to give the movement. This also is one type of lever. Then again this is the hand lever. Generally you will find in motorcycles, bikes to operate the clutch or the brake, the front brake. This is also the lever. That means this is the lever. You will find the pivot where we are going to put the E port. Accordingly it actuates for the other side. Then again this is the the for a the leather belt, how to make the holes. This is also the, you will find this is the pivot. You will get the output force here and we are giving the E port this side. It's a first class type. Again you will find this is the mechanism of the lever to operate it. It's a bell crank lever actually. Look at this. 1 2 3. I will show you how to design this in next slide also. Then this is the punching machine. Generally we are using it in punching. We are going to put the E port. Again how it is going to punch the hole on the one paper. So you will find the pivot as well as the here the punching. That means the output force or the force. Then the pliers also in green gem. Again press. That means any many applications. Even though in nail cutter, so you will find also in many applications you will find the levers are used. Try to understand. It's a very simple one, no problem. But how to design it? By considering the E port, force and the pivot position. That is important, and that's why the design of the lever is important one. Now let us start design of lever, and this is the important thing from our subject point of view, that is design of machine element. Now here in design of the levers, very simple design. Already we know that the different the simple equations that we are going to use when the forces are acting on the lever, simple stresses are going to induce in it. But how to carry out this the design of the lever, the three simple steps are involved. While designing any lever you have to follow the standard procedure. The in first step, that is the force analysis that you have to carry out. Because why force analysis is important? Because based on the class of type of lever, class or type of lever. Class means maybe first class, second or third. First means pivot at the middle, second means force which is at the middle, and third class means effort is at the middle in between pivot and the force. So once you are going to decide the type of lever, then and then you can locate the position of these forces. That's why force analysis is important, and by using this force analysis you will get the, generally while designing the lever, the given data may be how much force which is required to operate that system or subsystem where the levers are used. That is important. Now suppose a hand lever of in automobile or two-wheeler, when we are operating it, actually to actuate the brake or front brake or whatever maybe the clutch, suppose that time how much is the actuating force to that clutch or the brake, that is the input given. That means it's a output force which is known to you, and based on that how much is the effort, that is P is required to get at that, to get that force, and accordingly we can decide the L1 and L2, that is effort arm and the load arm. Try to understand. So that's why the force analysis is important to get the value of P. Then second one, the design of the lever arm. That means this is the I have already explained. Lever is nothing but a rigid bar member having a rectangular cross section, maybe elliptical cross section, or maybe I section. Not more than this. Three section generally preferred. Try to understand. Then third step is design of fulcrum of a pin. Fulcrum of a pin means a pivot. Here, when we are using a pivot, at the pivot you will find the moment of the lever is possible, and because of that, to have a moment at the fulcrum here, Bosch which is used, and inside it, the one, the rubber bush or the brush bush which is fitted, and inside it there is a pin, and that's why design of this fulcrum pin is also the important things to have a design of proper lever. So three steps we are going to use. One is the force analysis, second one is the design of lever arm, and third one is the design of fulcrum pin. Now let us see, look at this diagram. I would like to explain. Now this diagram we are going to use, it's simple one. It's a lever. Then second one is, in this case, this P which is shown. P is nothing but a effort. F is the force, or you can say P is the input force. F is the output, or F is also known as a force or a load. P is the effort. The distance of this P, and P should be perpendicular. Look at this L1. L1 is measured from the pivot. Now this pivot or this pin, look at this. L1 is the effort arm or distance which is measured from the pivot from this force P, but this force perpendicular. This is important. It's not if P is inclined, you don't measure it as a L1, perpendicular distance. Then look at this load. It is at another end here, F. Again, L2 is the force arm or a load arm distance. Again, it is measured from the perpendicular to this force. Try to understand. That means this P and F are parallel to each other. Try to understand. But again, here in pivot, suppose Bosch or a pin is used. If there is a pin and this lever is going to rotate at the pin, that means at the pin you will find there is a reaction. There is a reaction, and this reaction which is denoted by R. So how to carry out the force analysis? Let us see in first step. So you can write the first step, that is force analysis. I would explain by using this slide. The same diagram I have constructed here. P, F, L2 is the load arm, L1 is the effort arm. This, the outer one is the Bosch part of the pivot, and inside one dark one is the pin here where this lever is going to rotate. Try to understand, and here you will find the reaction. The first of all, consider the moments of the forces, and I have already explained during the what do you mean by lever. The F into L2 is equal to P into L1. I have written this equation. F into L2 is equal to P into L1, moment of forces. So you will get equation number 1. From this equation, you will get P is equal to, that is effort is equal to F in bracket L2 upon L1. Try to understand equation number 1. But there is a reaction at the pin. So if you are going to make the summation of vertical forces, what you will get? P plus F is equal to this R opposite to that to give the support here at the pin. Therefore, R is equal to F plus P. R is the reaction at the fulcrum pin. That means by using these two equations, you can easily find out the force P. Why I am saying force P? Because in a problem, how much is the force required to actuate that system, which is maybe given. If F is given, you can easily find out the P. That means how much effort is required to produce that force P. That we have to calculate by using this force analysis. For that purpose, taking the moment of forces and the summation of vertical forces, that means applied mechanics fundamentals, you have to use it and find out P and L1 and L2, that we have to decide. Suppose if data, you don't know any data, just ask to have a actuating force or the force required to operate that system. That means F may be given. That time you have to decide whether the mechanical advantage is equal to 1 or greater than 1. Don't take the less than 1. And accordingly, you can decide L1 and L2 and you can thoroughly use it. Again, here it's not possible to have a more L1 than L2 to get the mechanical advantage. What would happen? Space availability is also the another concern while designing the lever, where we are going to use that lever. This is also the important thing. Try to understand. Otherwise, what would happen if you are going to have a more mechanical advantage? That means if you are going to take L1 is more than L2, but how much it's also, you know, the concern about the design, because otherwise it is going to subject to bending moment. Try to understand. That's why it should be within the limit, and you should get the mechanical advantage more than one. Try to understand. More than one means with minimum effort, maximum work. That's why, no problem. Then let us see, this is about the step number one. You will find in this case forces are parallel to each other. Now consider the case 2 here. This is also about the force analysis. Now here I have considered the second type of lever. Why second type of lever? Because this output force P, which is in between effort and the pivot or a pin. Look at this now, position which is changed. This is the second case, means second type of lever, and we are not going to design the third class lever or third type of lever because mechanical advantage is less than one. Now in this case, from pivot to the port, this is L1, then L2. L1 is greater than L2 means you will get mechanical advantage greater than one. But try to understand, in this case this is the second type lever. But what I would like to show from this diagram, here also in first slide first type, here in second case second type. That means these forces are parallel to each other. And again, same fundamental of applied mechanics, taking the moment of the forces, you will get equation 1, then summation of the forces in vertical direction, you will get the equation 2. Now if you are going to find out the reaction, what you will get, this R, or you can say P plus R is equal to this F, another equation. So you should carry out this force analysis and find out the value of P, or as per your requirement, which the forces are required, you can calculate it, no problem. But here the interesting thing, in actual practice, what is happening, these forces are not parallel to each other, but these forces are inclined to one another. Try to understand. That's why case number 3, in general case, look at the case here. This is the lever, this part is the pivot, this part is the output force part, or you can say the load part, and this is the effort P. Now in this case, in earlier case 1 and case 2, you will find this effort P and the force, they are parallel to each other. But in this case, you will find this effort which is inclined, this force or a load which is also inclined, or in another one I am going to say this force P and this force P means effort P and load F, they are inclined to one another. This is case number 3. Even though it's a class of type of first class lever or type 1 lever, try to understand, because pivot is at the middle. Try to understand, but forces are inclined. In such a situation, how to locate the L1 and L2? For that purpose, what you have to do, you have to locate the L1 and L2 from the pivot, as usual procedure. But while locating it, you have to take the distance. Look at the force F. How we are going to locate L2? L2 is perpendicular distance to, or perpendicular to F2 from the pivot. And similarly, you can extend this P or the effort, and L1 means again this perpendicular to the effort P. Look at this, perpendicular to the action of force P up to this Bosch or the pivot. That means in this case, when forces P and F are inclined to one another, the important thing, locate L1 and L2, and the L1 and L2 should be perpendicular to the forces, and each distance you have to locate from the pivot. Try to understand. This is one thing. Then second thing, but and here at the pivot you have to find out the reaction. Because of these forces, you will not get the reaction from the bottom side. It may be at some inclination. And how to measure this reaction, this is the important thing, or how to determine this R. The reaction R is determined by the using the law of parallelogram. If you are going to extend it force F and you are going to extend this effort at, they are going to intersect at point O, and you will get here, this is the, you know, the R here. Look at this, and you can use the law of parallelogram or parallelogram law of forces to find out the reaction R. And in basic electrical engineering, in applied mechanics, in strength of machine elements, already you have used this parallelogram law of forces. By using this, we can easily find out the reaction. Only important thing here, when the forces, that is P and effort P and force F are inclined, how to do the analysis. and that's why you have to go for parallelogram law of forces. This is the case 3 of type 1 lever. Similarly, you can apply the same fundamental for type 2 lever, and we are not going to design the class 3 or type 3 lever. Now let us see, this is about the force analysis. Now look at this. Now here in the application, I have told you one, the bell crank lever. Look at this. This is the bell crank lever. Here is the pivot. This is the load point, or you can say you will get the output force, and this is the E port. And this, the F or a load arm and the E port arm is having inclination. They are situated angle theta. Now here, this is the bell crank lever having some inclination more than here 120, which is shown. Look at this. I have taken this figure from UV Bhandari's book. That's why I have written here reference. And other figures we have already constructed ourselves. That's why no need to give the references. If we are copying from some books, we have to give the credit to that books by citing their name or the just by numbering, and we can edit in our references. Try to understand. It's a ethical practice. Now, second important thing in this bell crank lever, look at this. In earlier case, P. Again, we have to look at the L1 perpendicular to up to the pivot. Then F drop perpendicular to this F, you will get the L2 and angle theta. And how to find out this resultant? Again, here the law of parallelogram, again you will find R is equal to under root F square plus P square minus 2 F P cos theta. And if this angle for the bell crank lever, it become 90 degree theta, suppose in this case, this F position here you will find, suppose like this, theta 90. The cos theta becomes 0, the term 0. Therefore, you will get R is equal to under root F square plus F square to get the reaction at the pin. So in this way, you can carry out the force analysis. This is about the step number 1. Now let us see step number 2, how to design the lever arm. In step number 2, what we have to do? We have to find out the cross section of the lever. That is important. In step number 2, find out the dimension of cross section of the lever. And how to find out it? Look at this. We have again consider the class 1 or type 1 lever. This is the E port, force F. Then here this is the Bosch. Here the pin which is inserted where this lever is going to rotate. And look at this important thing from this pivot up to the P. What is this? L1 E port arm. Then from F to this pivot, you will get towards this side L2. Then here this pin diameter is D1, and here Bosch outer side Bosch total here the outer one is the Bosch, is known as the Bosch. It is 2D1. 2D1 means half part here, radius side half. So you will get here D1. Again, second thing, again what we have to do, we have to find out the cross section of the this lever, and I have already told cross section may be rectangular, elliptic, or I section. Again while finding out the dimension of the cross section of the lever or any machine element, the first of all we have to decide where you will get the maximum bending moment. Because why we are locating the maximum bending moment cross section, that means at that magnitude when it is going to sustain that, the dimension that we are going to calculate it, that means other part or other cross section is also going to sustain that. That is the logic behind it. That's why always we have to find out the maximum bending moment. Now look at this. Generally you will find the fundamentals of the statics. So you will find the force P and the force F, you will get the bending moment equal to 0. So where you will get the bending moment now? So you will get towards at the pivot side. I have shown here X. So we have to find out the bending moment, maximum bending moment you will get towards at the Bosch side. It is not at the pin point, but at the Bosch. Look at this. The bending moment is maximum at the section XX. And after taking the section here, how much is the distance from this force E port P? That is half part is D1. So you can substitute L1 minus this D1. You will get L1 D1 is the distance. So we are going to find out bending moment at this section XX. MB is equal to P in bracket L1 into D1. Why we have not considered this side? Because L1 is greater than L2 in this case. If this side, it's not a L1, it's a L2, and always you will find to have a mechanical advantage more. L1 is always greater than the L2. That's why this side is considered to have this cross section XS, and at the point load or at the port P or the load F, you will get the 0 bending moment. You are aware of that. You already studied applied mechanics and strength of machine element. That's why you will get maximum bending moment at the section XX, that is MB is equal to P in bracket L1 minus D1. Now again, second thing, suppose if this lever is having a cross section rectangular, so look at this rectangular cross section, D and B dimensions are shown, and for that rectangular cross section, because what we have to do to find out this the MB bending moment, we are going to use a simple equation, sigma B is equal to MBY by I. The MB you will get from this equation by MBY. Y means D by 2. If this rectangular cross section, you will get D. It's a top here. Look at this D, and this is the width B. And what is D? D is the distance perpendicular to the neutral axis, and B is distance parallel to the, this is neutral axis, parallel to the neutral axis. And again, for a rectangular cross section, this D is taken two times the B for rectangular cross section. And for rectangular cross section, I is equal to BD cube by 12 and Y is equal to D by 2. Already you studied in strength of machine element. Look at the another section is the elliptical cross section. This is the A is the major axis, B is the minor axis. Generally, major axis is taken two times the minor axis. But what is the again equation? Sigma B is equal to MBY. But what is MB? As usual equation I have already discussed in on earlier slide. But how to get the value of pi for elliptical section, that is pi b into a cube by 64, and y is equal to a by 2. A is the major, b is the minor axis, and generally major axis is taken twice the minor axis. You are aware of that. And similarly, you can consider the I section and find out the I of the I section and y of the I section. Substitute here, you will get the sigma b, and sigma b permissibly you can substitute. You will get the value of b and a for I section, b and d. In this way, we can easily find out the dimensions of the cross section of the lever. This is the second case. That means that time we have to find out the maximum bending moment, and by using simple equation sigma b is equal to MBY by I, we can easily find out the other dimension in terms of BD or in terms of elliptical section A and B. Now third step, that is design of fulcrum pin, and it's very simple. Try to understand. Now here in the fulcrum, it is at the middle. Suppose for the case of first type of lever or first class lever, look at this. This is the wash. Now consider this is the 2D. Then this is the pin. Look at the cursor. Middle portion is the pin. Pin diameter is D or D1. You can say, suppose D1 here. D1 is considered. We will consider D1. No problem. And again, this pin is a frontal plane, or you will get a front view. If you are going to observe in a top, you will find we are going to insert the pin, and this, you know, the boss is having some thickness, or lever is also having some thickness. Suppose this L1, you can consider here the length of the this pin or a boss also as per the dimension of the lever. Look at this. Now here the pin is inserted. Again here sometimes phosphor branch bush is inserted to prevent the friction or to reduce the friction, and generally thickness here I have mentioned 3 mm thick, which is inserted in between the bush and the pin. It prevents the, or it reduces the friction. Then again here how to design it. Again here this pin is having the diameter D1 and length of pin. If you are going to observe from the top, you will get length here towards this side, length. This is L1 which is considered. That means dimension of the pin diameter D1 and length of the pin, that is L1. Try to understand. Now here in earlier slide you will find here, look at this. I am going back here for this. Look at this here. So you will find this is the bush, this is the pin, and in between pin and the bush one, you know, the bush which is phosphor branch bush of 3 mm thickness is used. No problem. But this lever, because of the E port, it is going to rotate or move at the fulcrum or the pin, and because of that it is going having a moment here. It is having a moment means, I have already explained to you, if two parts are having a relative motion between them, then what to do? So their compressive stresses are going to induce in it, and these compressive stresses are known as bearing pressure. Try to understand. And if there is a no relative moment between the two parts, then what we are going to say, it's a crushing stress. It may be compressive, but it's a crushing. But in this case, lever is going to move. Moment of the lever is possible because of this pin, That means there is a relative moment between the two part. And that means what we have to consider, the bearing pressure is the criteria. The bearing pressure, how to find out the bearing pressure? Look at the another diagram. I have taken it from UV Bandari's book. This is the Bush, then reaction, 2D1 the dimension, diameter of the pin is D1. The total dimension, diameter D1, if you are going to observe from top view, and length of the pin is L. Here L is mentioned, but we have taken L1. And here, and if port P is up towards the downward direction, so you will find the projected area that we have to consider here, the bearing pressure. For that purpose, projected area means D1 into L1. The bearing pressure is equal to R upon, this is the reaction of the pin, that is force, upon projected area. The projected area means D1 is the diameter of the pin into L1. L1 is the length of pin. Try to understand. This D1, look at this here also, the arrows. This is the diameter D1 and along the length here, L1. The projected area we are going to consider D1 into L1. Try to understand. That means in design of the fulcrum, we are going to use the bearing pressure, and by using the bearing pressure, again here, permissible bearing pressure for phosphor, bronze, bush or steel, it is in the range of 5 to up to 12 Newton per mm square. I have written 5 to 10 Newton per mm square. This is for phosphor bronze. If we are going to use a pin, if it is made up of steel, this bearing pressure is up to 12 to 15 Newton per mm square. Try to understand. You can substitute this value here based on this. Then R is the reaction of the pin, you know, from the force analysis. You can substitute. And here length L1 is having relation with the D1, and this L1 by D1 is usually taken as 1:2. Try to understand. Here it is mentioned L1 by L2 is usually taken from 1:1, maybe 1, L1 is equal to L2, or L1 by L2 is L1 by D1 is equal to 2 also. By using this ratio, you can substitute, you will get D1 and find out L1. This is the design of fulcrum pin based on bearing consideration. But now look at the diagram again here. Suppose we have considered the length of the pin. If I am going to construct, and if you are going to visualize from the top view, and pin is inserted here, and on this pin, if lever is mounted, pin is inserted on the either through the bush here by using the phosphor bronze bush. So you will find the pin failure, because we are designing the pin like a knuckle pin or like a quarter. Instead of quarter, I am going to use a word, a knuckle pin. Why knuckle pin? On which lever, here the lever, because of this pin is going to fail because of shear stresses also. The second, what you have to do along with this bearing pressure, you look at this. I have not shown here, but suppose this is the pin here. Look at this in 3D. This is the pin, and here is the lever towards this side and this side. The pin may fail because of the shear. Again, pin shear is going to occur at two planes. Two planes means front side one plane, second back sides another one. So what you have to do, two shear areas you have to consider. I am going to write the equation for design of the fulcrum pin. Tau is equal to force upon area. And what is the area? Pin diameter is the small d1. So for one plane, pi by 4 into d1 square, and another plane backside, because pin is going to shear at the two cross sections, the shear area, front as well as the back. The pi by 4 into d1 square into 2 times area. You have to consider two planes like a knuckle pin. I have already explained in knuckle pin is going to fail in shear, shear, because of these shear stresses are going to induce in it. The same logic we have to use. The design of fulcrum plane, that is based on the bearing consideration, and second one is the shear failure criteria. And how to find out? Tau permissible is equal to force upon area. Force, which force? That is R, that is reaction. And area means pi by 4 into d1 square. But pin is going to fail, or shear area, 2 frontal as well as the back. It is going to shear at the two sections. That's why 2 times pi by 4 into d1 square. Try to understand. This is about the design of the lever. So I would like to recap within 1 minute, 2 minutes are remaining. So how to design the lever? The first of all, carry out the force analysis. E-port may be given or the output force may be given to actuate that system. Based on that, taking the moment of the forces and what is summation of the forces, you can find out the forces. This is sometimes this forces may be inclined one, you have to resolve it into vertical plane, horizontal plane. Likewise also you can do. That means force analysis is the step number one. And step number two, find out the cross section of the lever. For that purpose, generally you will find cross section may be rectangular, maybe elliptic, maybe I section. Again, second thing I have already told, for the first class lever, pivot is at the middle. The effort and the load at the another two ends. You will get the effort arm, the load arm. It's okay, but you will find where the effort and the force P, effort P and load F, you will get the maximum bending moment 0. That means you will get maximum moment at the nearer to that pivot. That means you will find in two-wheelers also, you can look at the lever cross section. It is going to vary. Why vary? Where you will get the maximum bending moment, that portion is having a maximum cross section, and that's why you will find levers are having a varying cross section. Try to understand. Why varying cross section? Because bending moment is also going to vary. Try to understand, and it is depends on the position of P and F. That's why lever is not having a uniform cross section. And based on the type of cross section, rectangular, elliptic, or a I, you can use the I, then Y, and use the simple equation sigma B is equal to MBY by I. You will get the cross section or dimensions. And third step is the design of fulcrum. In design of fulcrum, what you have to do, the lever is going to rotate at the fulcrum, at the pin, the reaction of the pin that we have to consider the design of the fulcrum of pin. Two criteria. One is the bearing consideration. Why bearing consideration? There is a relative moment, and this bearing pressure is equal to reaction upon d1 into L. D1 is the diameter of pin, L1 is the length of pin. Projected area we have considered in this case. And if you can substitute the value of bearing pressure, or you will get D1. You can D1 and L1 is having a relation in the range of 1:2. And third one, second criteria of design of fulcrum pin is the shear failure. In shear failure, this pin is going to fail against the shear stresses, and that's why we have to consider the shear area, resisting shear area. Again, for this pin, for the lever, it is going to, you will get the two shear area. One is the front side and another one is the back side, like a knuckle pin. And d1, small d1 is the diameter of that pin, fulcrum pin. Therefore area, shear area means into plane, 2 times pi by 4 into d1 square. The tau is equal to p. P means which P? Reaction R upon this area, and you can find out the shear stress induced in it or other dimensions. Even though by using two criteria, you can find out the d1 and L1. Will you get the maximum dimension? You can use it like a knuckle and a quarter. This is about the design of a lever. The next session, what we will do, and I have referred VB Bandari's book, and I am always going to refer Bandari's book. Try to understand. Thank you. I hope